Chapter 33. Toulouse, 9th of March, present day. Thoroughly fed up with hanging from chains and restraints from the wall. I normally keep that as a treat for every alternate Tuesday. The flames cocooning Aisha's frame extinguish as Ben's disappearance into the skull dispels the constraining magic. Her charred flesh rejuvenates, replacing itself, and she stands once more whole and proud, unabashed in her nudity as she snaps the restraints keeping me in place. We're family. She isn't embarrassed being around me in her birthday suit, and I value my kneecaps far too much to even think about ogling her ever. Once I fall forward, freed from the wall-mounted table, I pull out another of her outfits as well as one of my own from my etheric storage space. I dress quickly, then turn my attention to freeing Isaac while she finishes getting ready. As I erase the sigil markings covering both him and myself, I see the absent cloud greyness depart from his gaze, and my friend comes slowly back to us. A sudden explosion of light knocks me flying across the room, restraining me against the wall as effectively as the torture table setup. For a moment, I panic. It's a trap. Fucking Ben. He's booby-trapped the workings. One last fuck you spat in our eye to add to all the misery he's heaped on us. I can't move, held paralysed, a prisoner all over again. Then the light dims slightly, and I can see the neon outline of crackling, impossible electric carving through the air, marking the shape of an angel's arm pinning me in place. Looks like Nithael woke up before Isaac did. "It's me, Nith!" I croaked the words out despite the pressure on my diaphragm. "He's gone! We saved you!" The light fades, along with the restraining force, and as I blink, the last remnants of the angelic equivalent of a flashbang grenade from my poor, abused eyes, I get something that makes up for it. I get to see Isaac open his. I rush over to him, checking him over, making sure he's really still there. Once I'm sure he's okay, I start to fill him in on what's been going on while he's been unconscious, subdued by the workings painted onto him. As I do so, Aisha goes out into the corridor and comes back in with his clothes and satchel. I make a mental note to mock him about that as a man bag later on. Then we reach the point in the story where I found out about Jacob and Nanael's fate. My words faltering, I glance at the skull. Then, slowly, gently, I tell him about them. The look of sheer joy, true and complete, that spreads over his face at the news of his brother is a memory I'll treasure for the rest of my existence, however long or short that may be. He rushes over to Jacob and Nithael's skull, standing, his hand resting on the shine dome. He closes his eyes in what I assume is an internal communion between the two brothers. I'm not done, though. I tell him about the second skull, the workings that were laid, the fate Ben had planned for him, how he intended to use their power. Sheer dread swallows up that joy. Isaac knows exactly how close he came to not only being imprisoned, but bringing about the end of the world. There's no way to sugarcoat something like that. It didn't happen, though, Zach. We won. Despite it all, my man, we won. And we got Jack and Nam back as well. Take the victory for now. Worry about the might-have-beens later on. Fucking hell. I sound almost wise here. Guess maybe even I've learnt something from this whole experience. Admittedly, only as much as you could learn from breaking open a fortune cookie from your local Chinese restaurant, but anything's a step forward for me. Isaac takes my advice, closes his eyes, and rests his hand on the skull containing his long-lost brother. After a period of time, which I used to finish scrubbing the last of the restraining magics off myself, he opens his eyes. They shine with both fresh tears and quiet joy. As he reverently picks up the skull and places it carefully inside his satchel, he murmurs, "I can feel him, Paul. Feel them both in there." He smiles, a brilliant, genuine smile, and gives me a nod of thanks. Moving over to Torquemada's skull, the one Ben vanished into, he passes his hand over the top of it with a grimace before nodding assent. He takes this one too, though less kindly. "The mad bastard is in here all right. He shoves it roughly into the other part of the bag. I'll take him into my safekeeping for the meantime. Mustn't let any other evil sod get their hands on this artifact with him inside it. We can worry about that later, though. My priority is Jack and Nan's prison. That scumbag can rot in the other for eternity for all I care. I nod sadly. I can't argue with him. Part of me is glad the evil shithead who burnt Aisha, killed the wolf, Pascal, the good God knows how many others, is locked away forever, away from the world he would have destroyed in his insanity. And part of me needs to grieve for my friend I spent decades mourning all over again, even if he was lost since my very first death. We make to leave the cold clinical laboratory, and I look at the dead meat puppets adorning the walls with a significant amount of unease. I doubt they were vacant corpses when Ben got his hands on them, and I suspect their deaths were neither peaceful nor easy. Either way, they are also dead because of me, potential vessels during my saving. Intentionally or not, they are on me, and it's something I'm going to have to live with. Aisha's been silent, her head down, inspecting everything, no doubt using that keen analytical method to distract her from thinking about what happened. She's so accustomed to trauma. It breaks my heart. Though telling her so will do her no good at all I can do is lighten the mood until she's ready to talk. This whole place needs eradicating. MMC? She blinks owlishly, then sighs. No idea what you're talking about, Willis. Good. She's cracking wise too. We all have our survival mechanisms. I'm happy to play the role of the class clown to help. There's comfort in familiar roles, and I suspect some normality, or this utterly insane clusterfuck of an existence that's as close to normality as we ever get, will help her more than anything else I can do right now. Your magical firebomb. I was trying out a catchphrase. MMC. Magical Molotov cocktail? No? How about Magic Tov cocktail? Molotov Castail. Magic Tov Castail. It sounds like an annoying magical talking bunny rabbit, which, incidentally, if we ever meet one, I will instantly incinerate it with a spell. Like this. She tosses her hand casually over her shoulder as if throwing a crumpled piece of paper at a waste paper bin, and the room erupts into a firestorm she doesn't even look at. Reaching back with her other hand, she slams the heavy metal door, trapping the whole evil space inside a cleansing inferno. We are in an earthen tunnel, not dissimilar from the sort we pass through to talk to Lucar Coyle. The sudden memory makes me pat myself down frantically. I completely forgot about it before asking her to burn the place down. As I turn back for the door, Aisha pulls the vernicle from her inside jacket pocket, an eyebrow cocked in challenge. Sigh. You're the best, Aisha. Damn right, Sabi. Never forget it. I never could, Aisha. I never could. The passageway slopes upwards until we emerge into the arriving dawn, the crisp freshness in the air still reminiscent of the end of winter. Radiant warmth is already present in the arriving rays, and the scent of morning blossoms under the dew bears the promise of warmer days ahead. We stand on a slanted hillside, the crumbling remnants of Gramont Castle directly in front of us, behind a cheery little cottage on the opposite side of the lane below the slope. To our side lies a 2-metre-high, weighty slab of stone, heavy-duty, don't look here spells dissolving off it at the sun's touch. It is a normal reaction to the spellcaster having been rendered mostly dead, at least physically. His essence being trapped in the skull has the same effect. His magic isn't his own to command anymore. Surrounding us are many other worn and faded rectangular blocks in neat rows with faded lettering in Old French and Hebraic. Isaac smiles, sadly. It's an Israelite graveyard. Jewish families fleeing Spanish repression in the 16th and 17th centuries were welcomed into the communities here in the south of France. This area has always held affection for the different and the desperate, a bastion of tolerance in the intolerant world more times than not. Jacob's name is carved on this headstone. Whether it was that mad sod's little joke or intended as a form of tribute, I have no idea. For now, I think I'll replace and seal this stone and let those left here rest without being disturbed by thoughtless neighbours. He waves his hand, and the slab lifts back into place, sealing the dark tunnel physically with the telltale bluish glow of Isaac's Kabbalah. The don't look here spell might be gone, but nobody's going to move that stone anytime soon. We trudge wearily up the road to get back to the car, still parked by the Pont de Grammont. I marvel at the thought of how long this gentle 20-minute walk must have taken Aisha, burning and bound, moving her prison inch by inch. How did you find me? I ask as we walk down the quiet road. Simple, appropriate considering it's you. Got fed up with always having to wait around for a phone call telling me where to come find you after you get yourself killed in some utterly ludicrous manner or other, so I worked out a solution. When I gave you the clothes after your shit wizard shenanigans, I put a tiny working on them, a fragment of my essence. Okay. So far so clear. I've done something similar with inanimate objects before, letting me know where someone or something is, as long as they're carrying it. I still don't follow how that helped you after those clothes disintegrated along with the dead body. That's because I'm a genius and you're a certified fuckwit. Fair, can't argue with that. Altered the spell, didn't I? When you died, it hitched a lift, hooked itself onto your spirit. Wherever you popped back up, so did it. Wow, you're right. You are a genius. I never even thought of that. Bloody useful when you think how often I die. And also that you're a certified fuckwit. I know, don't need you to tell me. We lapse back into silence until another thought strikes me. How did you move the circle Ben trapped you in? A shadow flits across her face for a moment. That trauma's still going to need to be dealt with. He bound it around me. Thought the firestorm would hold me. Didn't occur to him it could be moved if pushed hard enough. Damn. To draw up the wherewithal not only to activate a tracking spell and then push a heavy-duty binding circle by sheer power and force of will while continuously burning alive? There's no one more badass than Aisha Kandisha. Never has been, never will be. We reach the car, still hugging the side of the road near the bridge. Can we give you a lift to your car? I ask Isaac. His face drops, his cheeks drooping. You can give me a lift all the way to Toulouse, lad. Bastard killed my car. I grind to a halt. Shit, he's not going to be happy about that. Another thought hits me. How did he get his hands on you? Isaac ruffles his hair, scratching his scalp as he does so. He booby-trapped the road, stuck a log across it, then as we slowed down, boom! Massive magical explosion. Nithael wrapped me in his wings to protect me from physical damage, but you remember that potion I created that nullifies magic and paralyzes the body? I nod, grimly, vividly. The bastard used it on Aisha and I to get hold of us at the bridge over there. Mosquito bite delivery system. Intriguing. I can see the analytical part of Isaac's brain whirring into action. No, plagiarism. Stick to your story. Ah, Aisha, never one to let us get distracted by a side quest. Well, anyway, the explosion pumped a huge amount of that up into the air to take me out of operation instantly. At the same time, a variation on the containing sigils Jacob created flared up around us, and then poor old Nith was out of the game too. Bloody ingenious your friend was. I shake my head. My friend died a long time ago. There was nothing left of him by the end. Isaac looks at me long and hard. Are you sure about that, lad? Jacob's less convinced. I start. You can hear him? Bits. He shrugs. Not words exactly, but I'm picking up feelings, emotions, reactions to what we're saying. I think the connection between the angels is making it possible. So he heard everything, saw everything. I have to fight to repress a shudder. The wink made me pretty sure Jacob was conscious in the skull, but this confirms it. For his sake, considering all the evil shit Ben must have used them for over the years, I kind of wish he wasn't. Isaac smiles, sadly. Yes, he did. But that's a conversation for another time. If I must have lost the old 2CV, then getting him back makes it a worthy exchange. He pauses, looks at me again. Also, shotgun. He speaks in the same kindly tone, so it takes me a minute to work out what he said. The sneaky bastard. Don't even think about asking to drive, dickhead. Aisha nudges me with her shoulder as she passes, pulling open the car door. Isaac gives me a half apologetic, half fuck you wave and gets in the other side. I take a moment before I get in, thinking of a man I once held closer to my heart than any other, and who nearly cost me more than I could ever bear to pay. Of those who carried the cost of his pain. The wolves. Pascal. Jacob and Nanael suffering for centuries, even the poor little shit wizard, played like a puppet, with promises of power he could never hold. So many, caught up in the maelstrom of another's hate. Over the top of the hill, on the other side of the bridge, the heavy monochromatic clouds, all shades of grey, break for a moment, and there's a touch of that brilliant, clear blue through the gap. A moment of peace in the middle of the gathering darkness. Sometimes that's the most precious thing of all. A single moment's peace. Take it and hold on to it tight. It might just see you safely through the coming storms.